just realized the mirror. I was like trying to point at you, and then I was like, the mirror is the wrong direction. Yay! Welcome everybody! I'm so excited. Look who's here! It's Yelitsa. I'm gonna try to keep my fangirl in check on this thing, because I'm like very starstruck. So hello everyone, welcome to the Cackle. This is Entry Point's weekly interview series where we highlight small businesses and startups and people that are having an impact on our community. And today we're talking to Yelitsa Jean-Charles, who's the founder of Healthy Roots Dolls. So famous. Thank you so much for joining. She's like coming off of, like I have a Target deal and I was on the Today Show, and then I'm like, will you join the Cackle, please?
I feel like people hype me up better than I hype myself, and I already do a lot of hyping.
Yeah, you don't do enough hyping. I feel like all these things, I was like, saw just the other day, I was like, Target? And I was like, what? That's so amazing.
I felt like one announcement was enough.
I was like calling my mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're in Target. But then I was like, that's not me.
Community effort.
So if you don't know, Yelitsa started Healthy Roots in 2014 with a grant. I pulled this off your LinkedIn, so I hope I'm getting it all right.
I updated that.
With a grant from Brown University Social Innovation Fellowship and the support from the Rhode Island School of Design's eShip program and the Mass Challenge Accelerator program and 674, is it 674? Dedicated Kickstarter backer. Oh, 674 dedicated Kickstarter backers, because I can't even read. I was like, that's a cool program. Since then, she's tackled many challenges, won a number of pitch competitions and awards, participated in Backstage Accelerator program, which is where I met her, very fancy, and has raised pretty much like $1 million, over $1 million. To grow her company, and has helped make thousands of kids across the country love the kink of their curls and the color of their skin, which I love. So if you have not heard of Healthy Roots Dolls, what's the website real quick? Because people
healthyrootsdolls.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's like super, I've sent a friend of mine's daughter one of the dolls, and like it's like so magical. She sent me like a video of her opening. It was so exciting. It's like very high quality. So if you have kids, like super high quality kids toy. I'm like also amazed because you can like wash the hair and like style the hair a bunch of different ways, and it's not like a lot of dolls. I feel like, at least from like when I was little, like you would, if you did anything to the hair, it was messed up for life. Like,
yes. I mean, Zoe's hair can get tangled, but that's the whole purpose, is to like learn how to take care of it. And we're here, we built a community, we have content, so you can do green braids, you can do the wash and goes. We're going to do all the fun things with the kids.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love like on your Instagram, you give like tons of ideas for like different hairstyles and like accessories and things like that. And then like, I like love all the photos of like kids dressed up exactly like their doll. Like I
don't know where they're getting these outfits from, and they look so fashionable.
Yeah, I've been wondering that too, because people are always posting these twinning photos with their like their kids and the dolls, and like I'm like, where are they making these clothes?
I didn't make it yet. I'm like, who gave you this? I need to know so that we can get some.
I was like direct to consumer, because
yeah,
that's so crazy. And they're always like very like real hyped up fashion, like better clothes than I wear. Like I'll be like sitting there in sweatpants with my hair up. Like
the kids are outdoing us. They're really flexing.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. So yeah, if anybody has any comments or like questions as we're going along, you can put them in the comments and things, and we'll try to get to them. So okay. Questions. So talk a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur. I like love that it seems like you have like a really strong like arts background, and you were like had a minor in like gender and sexuality, and like I was like, oh, it just seemed to like all the things I'm of course that she's doing this now, and like it seemed like you had like a really entrepreneurial spirit like right from the start. So I guess like talk a little bit about like your journey.
Yeah, I don't know if many people know, but I studied illustration at the Rhode Island School of Design, and I have a BFA in illustration. with a concentration in gender, race, and sexuality. So I am a technically trained artist.
Yeah, that's
who
awesome.
I just happened to have a really great idea for a product and brought it to life while I was at my undergrad. And it was inspired by a lot of the learnings that I had, my experiences. While Rizzy wasn't necessarily the place to go to like learn how to make a toy, it gave me a lot of the tools that I use now to manage the business, you know, create new products, and do meaningful work. And so Healthy Results was ultimately born out of one of my class projects where I redesigned Rapunzel and I turned her into a little brown girl with big, beautiful, kinky, curly hair. And, you know, a lot of my classmates said that it looked like a doll. And then I had a conversation on social media with a lot of women where we talked about representation and, you know, my dolls didn't really look like me, or I, like you just described, you couldn't do the hair, or they didn't even have hair like yours to do in the first place. And so I saw an opportunity there after doing more research, learning about how important representation is for children and not seeing that people were doing it yet, to create that product.
Yeah, it really is just so, I mean, like to me, like I feel like I never noticed it, obviously. Like when I was growing up, I was like, oh, my dolls look like me, da da da. But then like as an adult looking for toys for my kids, and like, man, there really is not a lot of like variety there in toys. And then like yeah, and so I was just like, it just, you see like, and now like you see like commercials or something, there's like a commercial on right now for some doll that bakes or whatever, and it's like they were like, oh, you know, Black History Month, they pull out like this dad and his daughter and they're, you know, like this beautiful Black family, and then like are like playing with a white doll in the commercial, and I'm like, oh, what? Like,
You know, and that
on?
wouldn't be a problem if we had more options and if there was more diversity in the play space, because the whole entire purpose is to get more variety to represent our world so that it's not a problem whether or not kids have Black and brown dolls or white dolls or whatever. It's because they have so many to play with, they can play with whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess what were some of like the early obstacles that you faced? Because I like when I talked to you, you were working through like securing manufacturing and getting a prototype and like things like that. And now obviously like you're way past that. Like what from like getting the idea and talking to people on Twitter to now, like what are some of the obstacles you faced?
Yeah, so I think one of the early obstacles, and I think this is something that probably impacts a lot of female founders, a lot of founders of color, given the fact that less than 2% of those founders raise capital, is capital. It's really hard to get started with a physical product company when you're bootstrapping. It's very expensive, but if you build a really great product and you tell a really great story, it can take you very far, which is what I've learned. And so I had to learn how to focus on my business, and learn what I needed, what I didn't know, and find people to help me figure those things out so I could build a strong foundation so that now I'm at this place where I raised $1 million, I have a team, we're growing, we're developing new products. So those were the early obstacles. It's figuring out how to make your product happen, figuring out how to sell that product, and figuring out how to get the right amount of capital to continue growing.
Yeah. But what, I guess like, how do you go about like building your network and stuff? Like at Backstage Accelerator is like for underrepresented founders. And I feel like that's kind of like a good place to start going, but like really, how did you find those like different avenues?
Yeah, so I think that goes back to something I talk about often, which is telling your story. I say it all the time. Like we went viral last summer because I was telling my story. I go on Twitter and I tell my story. And so because I was doing that, I was able to make relationships with people, and people talk about me in rooms that I'm not in, or they talk about Healthy Results in rooms that I'm not in to other people. And so word travels and people, you know, become enthralled and like in love with the story and what you're building and want to help. And so with Backstage Capital, that was a relationship that was done through the internet, and not by asking for money, but just building a relationship with someone. And so I connected with Arlen because of her experience with venture capital and wanting to get into the space, and literally just said, you know, I just came out of an accelerator program and everything that you wrote in this Medium article resonated with me. I want to follow Backstage Capital. Let me know if there's anything we can do in the future. And that was it. And so those are the types of conversations I had with people early on, telling them what I was building, connecting with whatever they were doing and just regularly keeping in touch with them and sharing my story online, whether it was through my Facebook connections, LinkedIn, on Twitter, and then through pitch competitions and accelerator programs. So I would always look for opportunities that aligned with what I was struggling with or what I needed to do in order to grow my business. So knowing that I came from this art background, I don't know a lot about entrepreneurship and running a business. I clearly need some accelerator programs or mentors and advisors to help me learn how to do this work, whether it's here's how you set up your operations, here's all the legal things you need to make sure that are covered, here's how you format your business. Here are people who have worked on billion-dollar companies that produce physical product goods, and they went from the sketches to the physical product sourcing with the manufacturer, and here's how they worked on those things. So finding people who know what you don't know and being open to learning from them and telling them your story so that they can help you.
Yeah. Any like faves of like when you were modeling, working on your company that you were kind of like, oh, I'd like to be like that, or like that person's really doing it right?
Yeah. So when I was really early, my whole entire company actually was following basically the blueprint that Goldie Blocks had set. Which was this is an engineering toy by Deborah Sterling, who created it because she's a woman in STEM and she wanted more girls to be in STEM. And so she created this amazing company, cool products, I highly recommend. And she did a Kickstarter campaign where she raised $250,000 to create this product. And so I looked at her as like the model of like, this is a woman that was passionate about something meaningful. That would have a long-term impact on children. This is how she told her story. Yeah. This is the marketing and the product design is great. I want to connect with her and learn from her. And so I met her at a toy fair and I took her card, but I never emailed her. I didn't email her for 3 years because I knew that I didn't have anything for her to help me with, or I didn't know what I was doing just yet. And so I waited until like I had my things collected and I could go to her and say, hey, you inspired my work. I followed your blueprint. This is what I've done so far. Is there any chance that you'd be able to help me with X, Y, and Z? Would love to learn from your journey. And then I've also connected with Maxine Clark, who's the founder of Build-A-Bear. And she's been really helpful as well. And that's someone who came to me because she saw my story through her network and wanted to help.
Oh, man. Build-A-Bear coming to you. I feel like I'd be like, oh, Build-A-Bear is here.
She's so really great. And she's helped so many female founders. I'm lucky to be one of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess what is the, like you said funding, but like, I don't know, like I feel like, I mean, I have a small business, but we don't even have like manufacturing and we don't have the scale that you've like achieved or anything like that. But like, so I feel like, and it's hard, like it's really hard running a business. And like, what do you find like has been kind of the most challenging part of like what's going on? Is it like hiring or like, you know, like, I don't know.
Hiring is challenging. Being a solo founder is challenging. All roads lead back to you. And so if there are problems, you got to solve them. And so you just got to be ready. But also what's really challenging is taking time for yourself. And that's something that I had to learn is I can't be like running on all cylinders all the time because then I burn myself out and I'm not as productive. And so I've had to force myself to take time to like, okay, Yelitsa, it's 7 p.m. You could do more work or you could close your laptop and that work will still be there tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh God, the work still will be there, won't it? I saw on Twitter the other day, you were talking about like all the women entrepreneurs need to like go on an international trip. And so I was like, when is this? And then you were like in 2025. I'm like, that's so far from now. Like, what?
I mean, it was a hyperbolic tweet. First of all, I was also like playful. I was mostly kidding, but then it got like 600 something likes and like all these people were like,
think it's like more than that. I think it's like 1,000 now. Like where all these people are like, I'm going on this. There's like people being like, do you need help planning this trip?
After tweets go over 300, I'm like, mute.
I've never had that problem before. So
it would be so funny if that tweet. Yeah, you can mute tweets. And I was like, I was watching how many people were interested and I was like, oh no, is this going to turn into a conference that I have to organize now?
I know. I think it will, but it almost seemed like there were so many people that were interested in going that maybe like there'd be people that could just plan it. You're like, okay, well then you plan it.
Exactly.
Over an island somewhere. I do think that would be so fun though, like kind of building that like connection between.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be doing it. And, you know, that goes back to the founder journey. Those kinds of communities are so important. And the part of the reason why I've gotten so far is because like I had those groups of people, whether it was 3 female founders or, you know, founders that I connected with an accelerator program where you can go back, you know, you meet them when you're traveling in new cities and you talk and like you share your stories and like you vent, whatever it might be, but just having people who have similar experiences as you that can be there.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that network is like so critical. What advice, I guess, what would be your general advice? I think you've given up quite a bit, but like what would be the general advice you'd have for other founders that are thinking about starting a company or just getting started?
Well, I always tell people that no is one of my favorite words. Say no a lot.
I like that. Like, what types of things? Just things that are not like worth your time.
So it's weird because I have my two pieces of advice they don't contradict each other, but on the surface it sounds like it. So my first piece of advice is say no often, and then my second piece of advice is don't say no before you can say yes. But they're for different things.
Yeah, explain. I was like the second one. My brain is like, huh?
So don't say no before you can say yes means if you are presented with an opportunity or there's a competition you want to go to, or there's something that you think you might not be able to achieve. Don't let your self-doubt prevent you from pursuing something.
Yeah.
So don't tell yourself, oh, I'll never get it. Yeah. Oh, that'll never happen. Oh, they don't want to choose us, or whatever that might be, because you're already taking yourself out of the competition and you haven't even given yourself an opportunity to try.
Yeah, that's good. That's say yes to yourself and no to everyone else. I need to follow that advice.
I think that's a good way to summarize it.
It's like hard though, because I think like when you are running a company, I once heard Doug Sung, who started Duo Security, he once said, and I think maybe I've now made up this quote and he never said it at all. So like he should tell me at some point if this is right. Is that like he said that as a founder, every day is like either one of the 3 best days or one of the 3 worst days. And like I totally like after he said that, I was like, oh my God, that is true, because it's literally like you'll be like, oh my gosh, this good thing happened for the company. Like, that's so great. And then it'll be like the next day, like someone will just be like, you stink. And you'll be like, well,
it's true.
Worst day.
It's very true.
I feel like it is hard to like say yes to yourself all the time, because then it's like, there are those things that just get in your brain.
And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but this is like, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at this advice either, but these are the things that I regularly tell myself and try to hold myself accountable to.
Yeah, I love that. What do you think as far as like the ecosystem goes? So there's like a lot of organizations that are like, we're here to help entrepreneurs and la-di-da-di-da. Like, what do you think that they could all be doing to help?
They can write checks. They can write checks.
There are so many training programs and not enough check writing going on, it does seem like.
I tweeted another tweet that went actually like really, I think it had like more than 11,000 likes because it just like resonated with people. And it was a generalization, but it is something that happens is the problem. And so what it was white founders go on to raise millions of dollars in capital and burn capital as they build and learn. Black founders, underrepresented founders go to raise capital and they're given training programs, mentorship, everything but the actual capital, because people don't want to take the risk. And so take the risk, or at least ask yourself, why aren't you willing to take the risk? What is it about these groups of people or the companies? Ask yourself if it's the company, or ask yourself if you're judging the founder, because we always talk about how like we invest in founders. Okay, so then why aren't we investing in Black and brown founders? Why do we keep giving them these programs, but we so often give other founders who are not Black and brown founders the opportunity to fail through raising this capital and building as they go? If we're going to give some people the opportunity to do that, it should be available to all people.
Yeah,
that's the problem. The problem isn't that people are failing. The problem is that not everyone is being allowed to fail in the same way.
Yeah, that is a really great point. It's like I do feel like we do a lot of research on the tech community, like the venture-backed startups, things like that. And we regularly notice that like the successes, like the ones that are like, oh, this was largest round ever raised, this is like largest IPO, like blah, 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 are from underrepresented founders. So like underrepresented founders being like women or being people of color or, or all the other things. And it's just funny that like you regularly see the scoreboard of in like actual facts, you regularly see the scoreboard being women and people of color, like leading the pack. And then like, but still it's like like you said, 2%, 3% of the capital investment is going to those types of companies. So it's like, just does seem like this really weird, like where I'm like, why is this continuing to go on? If people are like focused on the green, as they say, like I only see green or blah, blah, blah. Then I'm like, well, then see it, like, just see it then. So that is like really a really great point. And then it is just like like white male founders, I find like are able to just be like, people will be like, oh, that seems like such a great idea. Like they always have the best ideas, or like if they fail, it's not their fault.
It's interesting. It's weird to watch the dynamics play out. Raising capital in general is hard for everyone, but it just seems like it is particularly hard for some people more than others.
Yeah.
And the numbers back it. So
yeah. I would say, what is the next? I don't like some of my questions now, so I'm like, what is the proudest moment been so far for you? Like, have you had any like moments where you're like, damn, we're making it. Like, this is a big deal, or even like smaller ones in the earlier.
This is gonna sound very strange, but I don't have proud moments.
What?
I think so. While I am very confident and I believe in the work that I'm doing, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily prideful. Yeah. And so like I look at all the things that we do and I'm just like, all of this is awesome. I'm happy with what we've done. I see the impact. Great. But I never go, oh my God, I'm so full of pride. I don't think that's one of the things that I experience. I'm just happy. Yeah. I would have to say. So I'm always happy seeing like customer reviews. I'm always happy seeing like somebody celebrating what the doll has done for their child. Like people telling us how like, oh, she said it just like her, or like she just got bullied for her hair yesterday. And now she's so happy. So those are things that I really, really enjoy. I'm just happy whenever we are able to successfully deliver results for people and make them feel beautiful.
Yeah, I love the community that you're building too. Like, I feel like it was, like it's not just buy a doll like for your kid and then they play with it and then you move on. It's kind of, I like how you're kind of capturing I'm in your Facebook group.
They really just love posting photos of their kids with the doll. That is all they want to do.
Yeah. And then, but like, I love like the unpackaging stories when people are like giving the doll to their kids and like kids are freaking out. They love. Everyone needs to go and buy this. Like leave this interview now and just go to their website and buy the thing. But yeah, it's like kids are like freaking out about the doll. They like love them. And I love all these videos that people are posting of like their kids like unpackaging the box and just being like,
me too.
It's so cute. Yeah, I do feel like, yeah, you're not like prideful, but I feel like you have like built something really awesome and like a lot, and does seem like very impactful to people as they're kind of like, just like, I have random conversations with people all the time that are like talking about you and your story and like how like they like just what it meant to their kids and things. Like I literally have videos on my phone right now from friends texting me being like, oh, you're talking to her next week. Like, here's a video of I didn't want to share them obviously because it's kids. But
tell them to write reviews.
I know. Yeah, I will. So I love that, but yay. Do you have it? What's next? Like, what is like, you guys are on the rise up. Like, what is what is 2021, 2022 looking like?
I think we're just, focusing on that community. So building a really strong relationship with all of Zoe's new girlfriends, getting feedback from them, listening to the customers and the audience and what's sparking joy in their hearts, so that we can draw some inspiration for new things that we're building. But yeah, we're just focusing on that community, because we still are, dealing with what we're dealing with in the world. Relationships are really important. Kids need to be engaged. Let's figure out how to do that. So we're building great content on YouTube and Pinterest, on our blog, really educational resources. And we just want to position Healthy Root Stalls as a multicultural children's product company, creating the representation that we didn't have when we were growing up so that kids can see themselves and be celebrated.
Awesome. I love that. Perfect. So thank you so much for joining today. We're like almost out of time. I was like, oh no, I keep like checking the clock and I'm like, oh crap, how does the time go so fast? So thank you so much for joining. I know you're like super busy. So I want to like be mindful of the time, but I'm so glad that you were on, and it's an awesome talking to you. I'm such a fan. I will just watch this video again and again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And then tell the website one more time, just so people.
It is healthyrootstalls.com. You can also find us at target.com.
Oh, yes. I love it. And will it be, and it's online at Target?
Online at target.com.
Okay, perfect. And then next week, for everyone who's following the Cackle, we have, Blessing from Mother Honestly, who's so awesome. And we're going to be talking about running a company or starting a company, or being an entrepreneur when you're also parenting, and a lot of the obstacles that people face doing all the things. So thank you again so much for being on, and I will hopefully talk to you soon.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay, bye.